Another great show on tap for all of you today. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Thanks for being here. There are so many great content options out there, podcasts, YouTube channels, radio shows, TV shows, anything digitally. That's why anytime you decide to hang out here with me, I greatly appreciate that. Coming up on the show, Dan Campbell had some funny things to say about playing in Philadelphia. Is Jaelan Phillips going to get a bag after this year from Philadelphia or somebody else? An NFL insider has something to say about that. And then we'll round out the show by taking your questions as part of our Philadelphia Eagles Now mailbag. I do want to begin here, though. If you're a diehard Eagles fan and you want top-notch, elite Eagles coverage every single day from your boy right here on the channel, lock us in and hit that sub button. We're 430 people away from 137,000 subscribers. Another monster game for Philadelphia on this Gauntlet 2025 schedule on Sunday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. Kickoff is set for 8:20 p.m. Eastern at the Link. Over-under at 50, so the odds makers expecting some points to be scored. Weather expected to hold up in South Philly for a mid-November game. And Philadelphia, 2-point favorites in a game that I think is going to come down to the wire, be very closely played, and we're going to be riding the seesaw going back and forth between two of the top teams in the league. And this is a game that will have a lot of playoff implications by season's end. This is a game where both teams have an opportunity, if they win, to own the tiebreaker to potentially have home field advantage in the NFC. Philadelphia right now in that top spot at 7-2, only one game ahead of Detroit. Both teams have played 9 games. They've had their byes. Seattle, also on the Eagles' heels at 7-2, but the Eagles do have the better NFC record there. They don't play this year. The Eagles did beat the Bucs. They beat the Rams. They play the Bears on Black Friday, and they already beat the Packers. So if Philadelphia, without having to play Seattle this year, can beat Detroit as well, all of the teams that you could be competing against to get that number 1 seed, you have the ability to beat all of them and sweep them. That's another reason why this game is huge. And I think this game is going to be electric. Anybody who's been to a primetime Eagles game at the Link knows the buzz is palpable around the stadium starting in the wee hours of the morning. People will tailgate all day, drink all day, cook all day, play tailgating games all day, tossing the pill, playing some cornhole, all types of games. It is going to be an incredible atmosphere outside of the Link, which then leads to this game being really tightly contested and a great atmosphere inside the Link. Plus, it adds to it that these are two of the top teams in the league. And so this is a massive game with playoff implications between two top-tier teams in South Philly on Sunday night. And I really have a lot of respect for Dan Campbell. He's primarily been a CEO head coach like Nick Sirianni, but on Sunday against Washington, he took over play calling duties. The Lions went on to drop 40-plus points. I love how aggressive he is, how much he cares for his players, how he doesn't care what people say about him. He always gets his teams fired up, ready to play. They're always tough and rugged. I kind of like his brash style. He has a lot of swag. This is a coach that I would like to play for. I also like his honesty and how he keeps it a buck. And he kept it real about playing in Philadelphia, and he acknowledged what type of special place this is. He said, Philly, it's a great place to play. It's electric. I had batteries thrown at us, spit on, just the classic stuff when I was a player. It's probably the most hostile place to play. Going into the stadium, leaving it during the game, things have backed off a lot now since back in the day. Some of these things you can't do anymore. And Campbell, he said all of this during a radio appearance this week. He also relayed a rookie experience that he had when he and his teammates celebrated a Michael Strahan pick six to win the game in, I believe, 1999 when he was playing tight end. And here's what he had to say about that experience. We all go back to meet him, and it was like a 64-ounce cup this guy had that was full of tobacco spit. Dan Campbell is a tobacco dipper as well, by the way. And I'm running over there celebrating, and he pours it on Strahan's back while everybody is running over there. I backed off at the last minute, just stuff like that. It's a hostile environment. It gets you fired up. I'll make sure our guys are prepared. They're going to love this. Our guys are going to embrace this. This is fun stuff. First of all, can you imagine having a 64-ounce cup of tobacco spit being poured on you? If you've ever hung out with buddies who dip, one of your worst fears is picking up that cup and accidentally sipping that, thinking that it's a beer or a soda. Now, I can't dip because I start to get lightheaded, and I think I have like nicotine sensitivity, but I've been around people who dip, and I always make sure, sniff that cup, make sure it's not that tobacco spit, because that's disgusting. Can you imagine picking off a pass, you're celebrating with your teammates, and some Philly guy's like, yo, F you, pours a tobacco spit cup on you. Brutal, funny celebration, not something I'd want to have happen to me, but you know what I love about what Dan Campbell said? He didn't say anything bad about the Eagles. He played this up in a positive way and said, our team is going to love this. We're going to embrace it. And I really like that type of attitude. Furthermore, from Dan Campbell, this is a heavyweight match. One misstep can cost you this game. That shouldn't make you tight. That shouldn't make you play conservative. Hello, Kevin Patullo. Just understand it's going to take all three units in every play you've got to give it your full attention and lay it on the freaking line. You can't ask for anything better. Our guys are going to be so excited to play in this one. Our coaches are excited to coach in it. This is big-time football on Sunday night. We're fired up. Now, I love Nick Sirianni, but Dan Campbell just got me fired up for this game. And wouldn't you love to play for a guy like that? I'd put my body on the line and sacrifice it for a guy like Dan Campbell. And this adds to the juice that this game has. I always say this. Eagles fans are some of the most knowledgeable fans in the world, in all of sports. They know exactly what Dan Campbell has said, and that's going to make them up their level of intensity and how loud and rowdy they get. Now, if you think the Eagles are going to beat the Detroit Lions on Sunday night, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If not, that's fine. But I want you to comment and explain why down in the comment section right now. So when Howie Roseman last Monday in the lead up to the deadline made that trade for Jaelan Phillips, it was a move that I was a big fan of. I like Jaelan Phillips, the player. Obviously, he tore his Achilles in 2023, ACL in 2024, medically retired in college. But when he's right and when he's healthy, he's been a very productive pass rusher, especially under Vic Fangio. And I like that part of it too, that element of it too, because I knew that because of the scheme familiarity, Phillips was going to be able to play and handle a large workload right from the jump. Well, he impressed me even more. He started for Philadelphia and played a majority of snaps for the Eagles on Monday night against Green Bay, and he dominated. This is a trade that if he continues to play like this, makes Howie Roseman look even smarter, elevates the defense even more. And I also made this point. When you put Jaelan Phillips on this line alongside Jalen Carter, Moro Ajomo, who I predicted was going to be better this year than Milton Williams was last year, and he has, alongside Jordan Davis, Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith, he's going to get one-on-one opportunities. It's going to open up opportunities for others. And what happened? The Eagles had their best collective pass rushing game of the season against Green Bay, and Phillips led the charge. 8 pressures, 7 hurries, 2 quarterback hits, a pressure rate of 19.4%, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and he stuffed Josh Jacobs on that critical 4th and 1. As far as that trade, this is important to remind people. The Eagles gave up a 2026 third-round pick. They had 3 third-round picks already, so they still have 2. And if Jaelan Phillips leaves after the year in free agency, the Eagles will get back a third-round pick. And there's a possibility he departs Philadelphia to go somewhere else because of the price tag, especially if he continues to ball out the rest of the way for the Eagles during this stretch run. Here's what Jeremy Fowler, ESPN NFL insider, had to say. Jaelan Phillips' free agency has my attention. He was knocking on the door of becoming a top 10 pass rusher in the NFL before injuries hit. But now he's rounding into form and looks rejuvenated by the trade that sent him to Philadelphia, recording all the numbers that he recorded on Monday night. If Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio can help maximize Phillips, a massive payday might be waiting in Philadelphia or elsewhere. This puts the Eagles in a position to earn a strong compensatory pick for Phillips if he does leave. which was why it was a no-brainer for Howie Roseman to make this move. You still have third-round picks remaining, and if he leaves, you just get that third-round compensatory pick back. That's high-level business strategy right there. Coming up next on Philadelphia Eagles Now, we're going to take your questions for a mailbag. Really excited to chop it up with all of you. But let me tell you about this deal. Thanks to our friends at Fanatics. This Eagles hoodie was $75. It's now on sale for just $58. All you have to do, use that link down below, chatsports.com/PHI hoodie. Fly Eagles Fly on the front. Old school Eagles logo there as well. I was just in Philly. Temperatures starting to get a little bit colder in the city, in the Northeast, all across the country. So you got to hop on board hoodie season and get your hoodies today. All right, let's go to some of our questions for our mailbag. Really excited to talk all things Eagles here on the show. Always love chopping it up with our real ones and the legends who watch this show. We're going to open up the floor for a little bit of a mailbag and a Q&A. You have questions. I have answers. So let's go. Trey Losado gets us started saying this. Do you see Jaelan Phillips getting an extension if he keeps getting better after that amazing performance last Monday? No doubt about it. And I know a lot of teams are going to hit pause because of the injury history. Medically retired in college, but had a good career at Miami and UCLA. In 2023, tore his Achilles. Came back from that, tore his ACL in 2024. And some Dolphins writers and people who cover the team had said, really good player, physically not the same guy. Physically, he looked pretty damn good on Monday night against the Green Bay Packers. And when you play the edge rusher spot and you play like that, you're going to catch the attention of a lot of people who are in need of bulking up the trenches, improving their defensive line, and getting better with their pass rush. And so if Jaelan Phillips continues to play like he did on Monday, and obviously that's not sustainable, but he plays really, really well, he will get paid in NFL free agency and might outprice himself for Philadelphia. But if that is the case and he does leave, that's fine. Eagles slotted to get back a third-round compensatory pick for him. But what a player, what a debut. And it wasn't just him as a pass rusher, right? Where he was active, pushing the pocket, moving Jordan Love off his spot, being able to generate pressure. He was also excellent against the run. Played with hustle, played with athleticism, played with physicality. What a trade. Andrew Nathan, my guy. Chase, Adoree Jackson is playing okay right now. And with Jacorian Bennett back, our depth is looking better. But do you think the Eagles should sign Stephon Gilmore, or should Howie sign Asante Samuel Jr. off of Pittsburgh's practice squad? So a lot of people might be confused by the Asante Samuel Jr. element of this. He signed to the Steelers practice squad, right? He's on the practice squad, meaning if the Eagles offered him a spot on their active roster, they could poach him off that Steelers practice squad or force Pittsburgh to sign him to their active roster. Some red flags there. Had the spinal fusion surgery. Anytime that is a surgery for a football player, you get concerned. But if medically he checks out, I really like the player. Double-digit pass breakups his first 3 years in the NFL. He was a second-round pick out of Florida State. Obviously, Howie Roseman really values NFL bloodlines. He's talked about that. I don't think the Eagles are in a spot where they need to make a move for a corner. I think they brought in Jair Alexander as just an additional depth piece to help out some of the young players. Think about what you still have there. You still have Quinyon Mitchell, Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo, Jacorian Bennett. You have Perry Nickerson on your practice squad. Cooper DeJean can play on the outside if you need him to. And if you put DeJean on the outside, you brought in Michael Carter by way of that trade. He can play in the slot. And you mentioned Adoree Jackson. He has not given up more than 40 receiving yards in a game since week 1. He's actually played pretty well of late. Now, I hated how soft he was in a goal line situation, throwing a shoulder jab at Cam Scatterbo. But to his credit, he's played a little bit better. I don't think the Eagles are in a spot where they need to make a move, but there are some intriguing options. Stephon Gilmore, a little bit old, but he did play and was a starter last year for a Vikings team that was one of the top defenses in football. Kevin Gray, how much longer until we get into panic mode over this offense lacking any consistency? Was Monday about playing a very good defense or more about our offensive coordinator lacking any creativity and running? Really good question, Kevin Gray. I think there's also something to add to that. It was a real field temperature of 17 degrees with howling winds up to 20 miles per hour. That is going to impact how you run the football, how you pass the football. It's going to alter your play calling and your game planning. You're not going to take as many deep shots or air it out as much, knowing the conditions are that. But you also make a good point here. Sometimes, excuse me, can we just give credit where credit is due and give credit to the Packers for how good of a defense that they have? They've been a top 5, top 10 defense all year long. Now, this is also a case where multiple things can be true at the same time and multiple talking points are viable. Do I have some concerns about the Eagles' offense? No doubt about it. But last year, they were really an up and down team, and they didn't peak until late in the season. The same thing happened in 2017 when Doug Peterson had to find a groove with Nick Foles after the Carson Wentz injury. What I love is how well this defense is playing, because coming into this year, where did we have more question marks? Not on offense, with 10 of 11 starters coming back from a team that won a Lombardi. It was the defense. Well, the defense looks to be legit. Top-notch pass rush, elite linebacking core. Quinyon Mitchell's playing like a first-team All-Pro. Cooper DeJean is the best slot corner in the NFL. You can get by with your safeties right now. I like Reed Blankenship. Andrew McCuba's fine. He's a young player who's going to continue to grow. But, yeah, I mean, you want to see this Eagles offense be more consistent. I don't love how Kevin Patullo at times is conservative and coach is scared. But I do believe in this offense that they're going to find it at some point and be more consistent. The other thing, the 2 games going into the bye, Hurts threw 3 tuds over 300 yards against the Vikings in Week 7. Week 8, they ran for nearly 300 yards against the Giants. And then they go up against a really good Packers team coming out of the bye, bad weather, and they falter a little bit. We'll see how they do against Detroit. Another good defense. Kane Angel, after what's going on with A.J. Brown, it's making my mind go crazy. Will the Eagles trade him for real? It's making me go crazy as well. And there are so many different ways to look at this. Like, in the locker room, he's beloved. He doesn't cause any problems. There's a reason why he has that C on his chest. He was voted a team captain by his peers. I've been around AJ. I've seen how he interacts with teammates. I don't look at him as a negative influence who is a locker room distraction. At the same time, when you are 7-2, you're the number 1 seed in the NFC, you've got an opportunity to go back-to-back and you continue to complain about the offense and you cause drama by what you say, it does become a little bit of a distraction in the sense that Nick Sirianni, the players, A.J. Brown, are always asked about it. Jalen Hurts has to be questioned about it. I mean, you can tell it's starting to get under Nick Sirianni's skin. When he talked about this on Wednesday, he even said, I'm getting close to not answering these questions anymore. So I don't want A.J. Brown to get traded. I think he's the best wide receiver in franchise history. I've been saying that the last 2 years. He is a special one-of-one player. He's a top 3, top 5 wide receiver in football. But if it gets to a point where the distraction becomes too much, then I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles trade him away this offseason. And if they do, because he wants out, I hope he gets sent to like the Jets or the Cleveland Browns. Because look, he's been an All-Pro every year he's been with the Eagles. And I don't really like how sometimes he treats and acts toward Jalen Hurts. I don't know what's happened there. But I wish that at times he just wouldn't say what he says. And the other thing that bothers me, people will say, Eagles media, Philly media, they're trash. A.J. Brown is the one who starts all of this, not us. We're not on Twitch. We're not on his Twitter page. We're not doing what he's done on the sideline with some of his outbursts. It's him. Next one from CLXZP. Do you think that we should hire Brian Daboll as our offensive coordinator because Kevin Patullo is not it, man? I'll say this, and John Sheeran sends in the $5 super chat. Thank you, John. If the offense is still this stale going into the playoffs and the unrest gets worse, would they reach out to Daboll for the championship run? Look, you're not going to implement a new offensive coordinator and a new offensive scheme at this point of the year or at the end of the year. That only happens when you're a really bad football team. Now, I know in 2023, when Sean Desai was the DC, Nick Sirianni shifted gears to Matt Patricia. How'd that work out? The defense was just as bad, if not worse, because Patricia had never called or ran that type of defense. They didn't change the scheme. They changed the play caller. Brian Daboll runs a different offense than what the Eagles run. And so I'll say this on Patullo. Sometimes he coaches too conservative. Sometimes he coaches a little bit scared. The sequencing of plays is lacking at times. Hopefully that gets better with experience. But I don't think the Eagles at this point are going to make a change that's external. Kenny, I like how this defense is going. Stop the Lions running back attack because Sonic and Knuckles are tough and dangerous. Yeah, I was calling them Lightning and Thunder. Sonic and Knuckles is their nickname. They are a fun running back tandem to watch. Jahmyr Gibbs, one of the more explosive players, not just running backs in the NFL. He'll hit you on the ground game and through the air. And that pull-away speed, the athleticism, his vision, his patience, his cutback ability, the jump cuts, it's all elite. Then you have David Montgomery, who will just run you over. And he's the north-south guy. So stopping the ground game is going to be a huge key in this game for this Philadelphia defense on Sunday night, no doubt about it. Great questions, great observations, great analysis by all of you, and great comments. Who you got in this game? DET for Detroit, PHI for Philadelphia. Go Birds.